Namaste and welcome. This is Sun Ray, and this is another episode of yoga classes virtually. Today we'll be doing a yin sequence, so yin as opposed to our usual yang sequence. In yoga, as in life, as in Taoism, Taoism, Buddhism, there is a duality to everything, so day and night. Our yang is very powerful, full of energy, full of life, movements, and our yin is subtle. So if you can imagine something like our Shakti energy, our yang is very active and expressive, creative. Our yin is subtle, ever-present, extremely necessary, not only in our yoga practice, but in our mental engagement in our life. So we'll start today in a seated position, and we'll end in a seated position. In a short meditation, we'll begin just going through our meditative breathing. So 3 rolling ohms, and then we'll begin our practice on our backs. So inhaling in through the nose. And just letting the air come into our body. We'll inhale, reach up. And exhale, release our arms down to our sides. And we'll come onto our back. And we'll bring our knees in towards our chest, give ourselves a nice squeeze. Roll from side to side. So roll from side to side. And we'll take our knees straight, heels facing up towards the ceiling, toes tucked in towards our face, and then flexed up towards the ceiling. Tucked in towards our face, flexed up towards the ceiling. One last time, tucked in towards our face, and flexed out towards the ceiling. And so there's a few options here, depending on your natural state of flexibility, because we are just beginning class. So for general beginners, those not so flexy people, we're just gonna take our legs out, down in a 90-degree angle, and then off to the left side. You might need to readjust your hip underneath your shoulder, so it's more in one line. Just taking your knees off to the side, keeping your legs in a 90-degree angle, and trying to keep your shoulders on the mat. So this is one option. And if this feels comfortable, bring your arms out to the side, and then into goal post, so elbows bent. And you're just laying facing up towards the ceiling. And we'll stay here for 2 minutes on each side. Second option, for those a little more flexy, especially in their hips, you can bring your legs up and then straight out to the side. Again, you might need to readjust the hip so it's more in line with the shoulder, and then your legs are straight, and if this is comfortable, again, you can stay here. And the last option, for those who still don't feel the stretch too much in that straight leg position, we'll extend our legs up, and because we're going off to the left side, we're going to take our right leg over and behind, so your nice eagle wrapped legs, and then again readjusting that hip, so you're laying more on the hip and it's underneath the shoulder. You bring it out to the side in this nice eagle position, and this position you might start to feel your shoulder lift more off of the mat, So if you can't, just extend down, look off to the right side. If this is too much on either end, you can always use a block. So incorporating block into our yin positions, because we are in these stagnant positions for a while, we want to be comfortable. You can take a block underneath the leg if that allows a little more openness in the chest and gives your shoulder more room to fall to the mat. And you look off to your right side. And just breathing in through the nose, filling up the lungs, and out through the nose, navel in towards your spine. With each breath, your body relaxes more into the position. Maybe your shoulder, your upper back begins to touch more of the mat underneath. It's a great spinal twist, like you're bringing out your internal organs with very minimal movement. And then we'll come back up through center. I'd say that was about 2 minutes. And then the options stay the same on the opposite side. So we're going to go to the right side. So you can either come legs at the 90-degree angle, and you can use your block anywhere here. You can put it right underneath your legs. You extend your legs straight, bring the block down to the feet, or you can do that nice eagle wrap, so left leg on top this time, and then dropping it to the side, perhaps using that block. Nothing wrong with using a block, especially in yin. You want to make sure that you're comfortable. Goal-posed arms, and looking off to the opposite side. So you're feeling that nice spinal twist all throughout the body, all the way around the opposite leg and through, if you're in your eagle legs. And breathe in. And out. So I just want to keep an eye on the time in these poses for the both of us. So you can just relax, watch along, and I'll let you know when it's time to move. Staying steady with our breath. And then we'll come back through center. Extend the legs up. A nice waterfall, if you can imagine your toes are like the edge of a waterfall, and the water's coming down towards you. The back of your legs are straight, and your heels are pressing up towards the ceiling. We're going to drop our legs down, extend our arms out behind us. Deep inhale and out through the mouth. Deep inhale and out through the nose. And we'll extend, fingertips up, toes flex down. We're going to move into a nice banana stretch. So we'll start on our right side, feeling the stretch, but we'll move over to our left. Take our left leg out to the side, to the end of the mat. Take the right leg to meet it. Cross the right ankle over the left. Left arm comes out to the side. Right arm comes to meet it. Head stays right between the both arm biceps. And you're just going to cross the wrists. And then you feel the stretch on the right side of your body. If you don't feel it totally, you can come a little further out with your banana stretch. And we're going to stay here for 2 minutes, inhaling in through the nose. And out through the nose. Feeling that nice elongation through the spine. And feel free to readjust as you get a little more relaxed and flexible. You might feel like you can kind of stretch further out to the side. So nothing wrong with a little readjusting. Just making sure you keep that rib cage open on both sides so you're not pinching in on this side to expand on this side. You're just extending up. So there's expansion on both sides and extension on both sides of the body. Each breath creates a little more room in the lungs. And you're feeling that expansion in the outer hips as well. And then we'll slowly unbend ourselves, first with our legs and then with our arms. And then move over to the right side, extending through the left side body. So we'll start with the right leg to the corner of the mat. Left leg comes and crosses over the right ankle. Right arm comes off to the side. Left arm follows, crosses over the right ankle. And you feel the extension on that left side, all the way down the body to the legs. So extending up and out to the side. Full body stretch here. Really breathing into that rib cage. You might feel a great opening in the shoulder as well. But it feels kind of just like you're lounging now, like you're doing yoga, not doing that much work, and that's the power of yin. Because you're really making transformative progress in your body. But it feels like you're relaxing. You're not doing that much work. And then we'll come back through the center. Give ourselves one final stretch. And then come onto our elbows and come into a seated position. From here, we just want to come into our bent leg. just so we can come into the proper figure 4 on our back together. We're going to cross, starting with the right leg, right side of our body. We're going to cross our right ankle over our upper thigh or lower thigh, closest to our knee. So it makes this 4 or triangle. We'll come back onto our back and bring our knee closer towards our body, lifting our left foot off the ground. So you can stay here with a 90-degree angle. Use your right elbow to push out your right thigh, and your hands connect behind your left leg. So you could stay here, or you could straighten this leg and start to work it closer towards your face. So whatever feels more comfortable for you. And we'll stay here. We have 2 minutes on the clock. Just enjoying this nice hip opener. You get an option to keep the leg elevated or bend. The leg is fine. And you'll notice slowly but surely the leg wants to come closer and closer towards your chest, and that's how you're noticing the progress. It's very subtle, it's very comfortable, and it's very natural. It happens alongside your breath. You take your deep inhales in, and as you exhale any tension in the body. Inhale into any tension you can feel in your body. And exhale, release the tension that you've identified in your body. A nice deep stretch. Every breath a little more relaxed than the last. And then we're going to release the leg down, same way we came in. Rebending, taking the right leg over and down. And without sitting up this time, we'll take the left leg over. Ankle crosses over the lower thigh and open the hip. Lifting the bottom leg off the ground now. We'll connect behind the right thigh. Use the left elbow into the left thigh and either keep it bent or extend. You might notice a little more flexibility on one side versus the other. Totally normal, but also just a great indication of where we might need to stay a little longer or where we might need to push a little more. So pushing not too aggressively, but just pushing into our limitations. So feeling a little more of the tension and just hovering there, breathing in and out until the tension dissipates, and then you can move a little further in with your body. The same 2 minutes are on the clock. We just breathe and enjoy the stretch. So again, leg can stay flexed up or bent straight across. Whichever feels most comfortable. where the most progress will be made. So sometimes that's in your comfort, and sometimes that's beyond your comfort. You might notice me yawning a lot in this class. It just feels so relaxing. So relaxing. And then we're just going to come out the same way we came in. So dropping the right leg and releasing the left back down to the mat. And we'll slowly rise to our seat. We'll come to the center of our mat. So we're supported by the mat on either side. We'll come into a nice butterfly legs. So our heels touch, our toes touch. If we can, if this is too much, you can kind of pry your legs open like a book. And then bring your heels in as close towards your groin area as possible. It doesn't have to be this close. If it's this close, this far, and that's comfortable or challenging, then that's where you stay. For me, I'm a little more flexy, especially after doing that figure 4 on my back. If this is too much for your knees to stay hovered and it's not comfortable, you can bring both blocks to either side and kind of stay here. You want to make sure your back is straight, shoulders over your hips. You can do that by bringing your arms out to the side, lifting them up. Feeling that extension through the rib cage, bringing the arms down, keeping that extension in the rib cage, arms down to the side. So I don't really need the blocks here, but going forward in the stretch, I might need them as I move into a forward fold over my butterfly legs. So I'm going to kind of lead with my chest, as they say, start to bend at the hips down. And I'm going to use my blocks as support for my elbows as I slowly get lower and lower. So we start the clock here, and here we're going to go for 3 to 4 minutes because we're not going opposite sides. We're just doing one center fall, and it feels good. The longer you stay in it, the more you can kind of fall towards the mat. And it's nice to have 2 blocks here. Without the blocks, you can feel it quite a lot. So it's keep the blocks for as long as you need it. Keep one block. Sometimes I put a block when my chest gets a little lower, as that naturally happens. You'll see I have a block right underneath my chest to help support me there, or for my forehead. When I'm past the chest phase, I'll lay my forehead on the block. So I want it to happen naturally. I normally go for my forearms with blocks. Breathe. Release tension in my lower back, in my hips. That's where I'm feeling it right now. So I'm just breathing in that tension, really feeling it alive, feeling, I don't want to call it pain, it's just tension. It just feels like tension in my body, and it feels good to be aware of that and separate it from the idea of pain, because it's not painful. It's just there. It's just tighter in that one region, but it's not the end of the world, and it's not too limiting. And then as I go further down, I start to stretch my arms out. And as I start to stretch my arms out, I'll feel a little more opening in my chest, my rib cage, my heart opener. And I fall a little more towards the mat. So now my chest is below the block. I can use it for my forehead. And though I can kind of go further down to the mat, to the ground if I needed, this is where the tension is really alive. So I want to stay here and release a little bit of the tension before I go into anything that might become painful. So finding your edge, finding your point, your limit, staying there until your body says it's okay to go beyond it. And slowly rising back up, taking your time so you're not just bouncing out of it. Any deep hip stretch, you really want to take your time coming out of it. So we'll move our blocks to the side. Slowly close our legs. And I'll turn to face the end of the mat. Extend my legs straight out. Again, really working towards that straight spine, so I bring my arms to the side, lift them above my head, maybe adjust my hips. So shoulders and hips are right on top of each other. And then I'm going to fold forward over my straight legs. I want to keep a straightness in my back. Again, blocks are always an option, so you could use the blocks on either side to help you walk down, or just keeping your hands at your ankles. Give yourself a bend in the elbows and you'll notice it starts to straighten out the back. So it opens the chest, forces the chest open, and while the chest begins to open, your back, especially your upper back, begins to straighten. If you have like a little curve in your lower back, that's okay. You can kind of pull the fat away at your bottom, so you're sitting on your sits bones, and you'll notice a little more straightening through the back there. So bending the elbows, opening through the chest, and leading with your chin, folding forward down onto your legs. Pulling your toes back towards your face. And you can grab the outsides of your legs if you're there and you feel comfortable. If not, keep your hands anywhere else on your legs. And just slowly folding forward. Option to put a block over your thigh. So you're in a nice place where you can start to rest a little more on the block. And really keeping the extension of the chin, top of the head pulling you forward. Got about a minute and a half more here. Keeping that length in the spine, expansion in the rib cage. And diving the chest and chin towards the legs. Toes tucked in towards your face. It's really a full body extension, full body work here. Keeping the chest open, elbows bent, if that feels good for you. About 30 more seconds. If you have a bolster is also very nice to have here. Again, remember, you can keep this block here. And then we'll slowly come out of it. And the same idea as we kind of flip the body, we're going to move into a downward dog, so bringing the heels in towards the butt. We're just going to move the weight forward, press our hands into the mat. So open palms, press the hands down into the mat, step the feet back. So you're at a full body's distance. If you came into a plank, you'd be in a comfortable place, your butt wouldn't be too raised. So back into a downward facing dog. We're going to stay here for our 3 minutes. And I do have a little clock here that's helping me keep track of time. So holding for our 3 minutes, inhaling in and out through the nose, nice bend in the knees, pressing forward with our hands, and chest comes in towards our thighs. A nice V shape of our body. Inhaling in and exhaling out. Deep, long breaths. Allowing a little bit of movement with each breath. About another minute here. Pulling the heels towards the mat. And hips reach high towards the ceiling. So nice stretch along the hamstrings. A nice length in the spine. Pressing the ground away from you and the hips up towards the ceiling. Heels down towards the mat. Nice slight bend in the knees. Navel in towards the spine and chest. Down towards the mat and in towards your thigh. And then we're going to transition from here into a nice lizard pose. So we're going to take our right leg up and step it out to the outside of the right hand. Drop the bottom, the back leg, always with our blocks, especially in our yin. We can use our blocks a few different ways here. We'll take the elbow to the ground if that's comfortable, or you keep the hand where it is. The right foot is on the outside of the right hand. And then you just start to open through the hip. So you're going to kind of peel the hip or the foot off the mat. So the forward view, something like that. You're peeling the hip off of the mat. And as you do that, you're dropping the hip towards the ground. Or you're peeling the foot. I said hip before. And maybe you're dropping to the elbows. You can use a block here. Underneath your elbow. And we'll stay here. Breathing in to the tension. Maybe dropping the forehead. So you see how you feel like a little bit of a lizard here. we're here for another minute or so, minute and a half. So we want to keep it 3 to 4 minutes, or 2 to 3 minutes on each side when we do alternate sides. And then when we do one-sided things, so the open legs, or if it incorporates both legs into the one stretch, we'll hold it for 3 to 4 minutes. And these holds can be longer if you have more time. And so we'll slowly come out of this lizard, drop the foot, so the sole of the foot is on the mat. Take the hands on the inside of the foot, we'll take the knee back and up, give it a nice stretch, maybe open through the hip with a knee bend. We'll do the same thing on the opposite side, left leg comes up and forward to the outside of the left hand. Take the sole of the foot off the mat, slowly peeling it up. And we'll be dropping down to the forearms, dropping the forehead to a block if that feels good. And again, we're on the clock for 2 minutes here. Breathing into any tension in the hips and the hip joint. Keeping the breath natural and smooth. I'll go for another minute here. I'm just kind of cradling my block, trying to find the best and most comfortable place for myself. So another minute. And then we'll slowly start to rise out of our lizard, drop the sole of the foot, and then rise back through our downward facing dog, maybe opening that hip again. Both feet on the mat now, drop the knees. And we're going to move into something called toe crushers. And we'll stay here for 4 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, as we do both at the same time. So this can be a little more painful if you are a woman who wear heels, or you're tighter in your feet, flat-footed. So the basis is you're kind of crushing your toes, if that's, maybe that's a rough way to put it, but you're just on the balls of your toes. So really making sure all your toes, even your little baby toe on the side, are straight out on the mat. And you're going to sit on your heels right above your toes. And you sit comfortably here. Option to grab opposite elbows to help keep the chest open, or bring your hands into namaskar behind your back, keeping the chest open this way. And we're on the clock. And if it gets too painful, you can rise, release a little tension, and come back down. But try and hold it as long as you can. So you can do anything for the time allotted for us. So we have about 3 more minutes here in our toe crushers. And for me, especially as a woman wearing heels, or when I used to wear heels a lot in the city, My toes, sometimes they would just go totally numb. So this was a really great exercise for after a long day of wearing heels or a night out dancing in heels. The next day you just kind of come into a toe crusher position, and it definitely feels a little uncomfortable, especially if your toes had gone numb the night before. But it's really great for bringing blood back into circulation in the toes, and to kind of straighten out any damage that you might have done. Also great for bunions if you have growing bunions or notice any deformation happening with your toes. So this is a great way to kind of counteract that. So the formation of bunions and what they call hammer toe. Especially women who wear heels a lot, you might notice one toe is kind of bent in, has a kind of crooked way about it. I was noticing that, and definitely doing toe crushers, and also taking, a break from wearing heels all the time, making sure the heels that I were wearing, even though I wanted to wear the most beautiful, cute heels, it really does damage to your feet, and therefore the rest of your body, because the feet are your foundation for everything else in your body. Really does a lot more damage. So no matter how cute the shoes are, if they're not comfortable, and if you can't make them more comfortable with orthopedics, or you can't get a bigger size and maybe stuff into the side, whatever have you, maybe they're just not worth wearing because they will do damage to your feet. But this is a great way to kind of counteract if you're just wearing those dinner heels, 5-inch stilettos, and you just want to look cute for a picture or two or a date. This is a good way to counteract. We have about a minute left here. If you haven't taken a break yet, good for you. Really opening through the chest and keeping the weight on the heels. And then we'll slowly rise out of this one. Again, when we come out of these positions where we kind of almost cut off circulation, we want to circulate fresh blood. We want to take our time. Don't just bounce out of them. So allow a little bit of blood to circulate back into your toes. Give yourself a little rub. Feels good, or it will feel good after a moment or two. The next thing we're going to get into is our fire logs. So this is alternate legs, so we'll do 2 minutes on each side. So our fire logs are about 90-degree legs. So 190 degree, and we're just going to take the opposite leg, 90 degree, and place it right on top. And I always notice a huge gap when I first get into my fire log. So I just put a block underneath the thigh, or sometimes if it's a little lower, I'll put it over the knee, or over the ankle of the other opposite foot. So this is our beginning stance for our fire log, and throughout the pose, I always end up taking the block away, but at first I'm like, ooh, it would just be hovering. So nothing wrong with using a block. I'm gonna put my little clock right here so I'm aware of time. And again, straightening the back, reaching up, and then bending from the hip. I'm gonna come forward over my leg. And as I come forward, this might be the place where you remove the block. And take your time here. You don't have to go as far as I'm going down. Feel free to stay here. Feel free to stay with the block underneath your leg. Find your place of comfort. I'm still finding lots of resistance here, so it might look really easy, but lots of resistance here for me. And we have another 30 seconds. And it feels so good. At first there was so much tension, but now I really feel like that tension is giving way to some really sore spots that really needed this stretch. So it feels so good, and I wish I could stay in it longer. But we're really sticking to the 2 minutes on each side. So we're gonna switch legs, nice and slow again with these high tension areas. We wanna take our time exiting. So yin is really important. Just as long and as slow as we're in these poses, we want to make sure we take our time getting out of them. No rush. There's no rush in this. And we're going to cross over the same way we came in, except opposite leg. So again, I'm going to put that block here, and then I might move it throughout. So we're starting our clock now, 2 minutes. Maybe moving the flesh away as we inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, lay them out forward, and then moving one block down. Whew. So again, I'm feeling it really in my hips. Deep tension. And I'm just breathing through it. And we're hitting a minute here, so 1 more minute here. Breathing in and out. And slowly I feel tension release, and again it's turning into that nice, really needed stretch for my hips. And we're hitting the 2 minute mark here. We're gonna walk out. Again, take time. Lift the leg if you have to, so your leg doesn't have to lift on its own. Open them out to the side. From here, we're just gonna bring some blood back into our legs before we bend our knees again. So we're just gonna take our legs out in our wide-legged stretch. Ready to go for 3 minutes here. So we'll start the clock now. And just finding our comfort. Extend the arms up, find that nice length in the spine, nice long, long legs. And we're gonna fold forward. Again with the blocks, we wanna invite in block usage. So I'm gonna use them underneath my elbows to start. Keeping the nice length in my spine. So there's lots of depth to be had in this pose. You can really get all the way down flat onto the mat with your chest. You can bring your legs underneath your calves. There's lots to be had. Or you can stay here. Or you can stay here. This is enough. If this is where your tension is, this is enough. If this is where your tension is at its peak, this is enough. But you have to be honest with yourself, because no one's there to feel your body for you. And I'm certainly not in the room to tell you, you definitely have the flexibility to go further. So you need to be able to feel your own body, feel out the tension. When you get to that point where you know going further would be too much discomfort, but backing out of it would be too easy. Would be doing a disservice to your stretch. So we just passed about 1.5 minutes. Another 1.5 minutes to go. And as I get more relaxed, I might move a block away. Even just feel it out. Is that comfortable for me? Reaching both arms forward. Is this comfortable for me? I can't say it's comfortable, no. But I can say it's a challenge that I can take on. This is something that I can handle. About 30 more seconds, I'm gonna drop my head and breathe into the tension I'm feeling on my inner thighs. And there we are at our 3-minute mark. So we're going to back out of that one. And we're going to bend our knees again. We're really working on hips, leg opening today. It's where we keep most of our tension anyway. So really a yin for our hips is what I should call this. The next pose, we want to stay lengthwise on our mat. And it's going to be a frog. It's a frog, well, let's start with our frog squat actually. So just coming into our squat, deep squat. So if this is too much and your butt's not able to kind of come down without your toes coming down, sit on a block. And we're just opening the hips here. Hands at the center of your chest. We'll start the 3 minutes here. You can use your elbows to push open. Again, you can sit on the block if you need. If the block here isn't even possible, stack the block up long, stack the block up really, really long. So you really want the opening in the thighs. That's what we're going for. It's kind of a pre-setup to what we're going to get into next. And you'll be really grateful to have this stretch once we move into the next one. And you'll see. So this is where we're going to stay. There are further options. We can go from here. So there's the left side. And we'll do this for a minute. We'll take our arm out to the left, right arm up, option to bind behind our back. And we'll stay here for 1 minute. If you're in the bind or if you're extended out, stay where you are, find your comfort. So you're feeling an opening down the shoulders as well. Keeping the chest up. And then we'll slowly release out this side, out the way we came in, and then right arm out to the side. Left arm reaches up and maybe connecting into a bind. For you, grab opposite hands. Open through the chest, look up and behind you a little bit, off to the side. So you feel that opening through the shoulders. Staying with our breath, staying present in the moment. Trying to find joy here. This is our yoga. This is the subtle shifts in our body. So we're not noticing these huge shifts. These are deep, subtle, energy shifts. This is where the real progress is made, where we really learn patience, understanding, compassion towards our bodies and towards ourselves. And we're released here. And I don't know if we did a minute in our neutral frog, so we'll do our neutral frog stance for a minute. But this is where we find our yoga, our balance, our peace. And it's more than just our psychological balance and peace. It's our physical body's balance and peace. You know, this is where we align and find misalignments within our body. So when you feel that tension on one side more than the other, this is where the knowledge of the body comes in. And then more importantly, this is where the yoga of the subtle body comes in. This is where the realignment of the chakra channels in our body, the energetic channels, something like our frog pose is really opening our root chakra, our hips. We hold this tension, this shame, guilt, this survival. So there's so much in the body that we're shifting subtly in these 3 minutes. And then we're going to release from this pose, maybe stretch out to both sides. And then we're going to come into our frog on our stomach. So I hear a lot of resistance from our frog on our stomach, so we'll bring the blocks into play. Our frog is going to be 2 90-degree angles with our feet. So our heels are right behind our knees and our toes are facing outwards. Heels and knees in one line, toes out to the side. I have my blocks here underneath my elbows to start. And then you want to come into a nice line, elbow, hip, hip, elbow, knee, hip, hip, knee. And this is where we're going to start. And then we start to slide out as we get more comfortable. I'm going to take 1 block away and use 1 block underneath my forehead. This might be way too much. You might need to be in your stance here. That's fine. But we're dropping the hip. We want our chest to come low. And slowly find yourself in your frog on your stomach. So this is actually much easier than I thought it was going to be for me to fall into this. And I think it's because we just did our seated squat. So our nice open hips. And our hips are slowly falling towards the mat. And we do want our focus to be on the hip coming down. So maybe our chest comes forward, but we don't want to stick our butt up in the air. We do want our hip to be the main focus, so it is good to stay on your elbows until you drop your hip all the way down to the mat. Whew, whew. You can feel the tension. So try not to drop your stomach to the mat. Keep the hips elevated. If the hips are elevated, you're elevated. I know I dropped to the mat, but I was a little too excited. Really feeling that opening. And we're here for another, let's say 3 minutes. We'll go the full 4 minutes here. So we just passed 1 minute. This is great if you have a bolster. Yin classes are really great if you have a nice pillow bolster. You could be laying on top of a pillow bolster here. If it's too much, you can bring a block underneath your pelvis. But that gives me a little too much rise because I was a little lower than a block. But if you're higher than the block height, it's nice to put it there because you somehow kind of gravitate down towards the block. And even though you're supported, you're still getting more of a stretch than you would if you weren't on the block. So I'm just going to try and find where I can be the most comfortable without having to rely too much on my elbows on the ground. Because there's no padding, it kind of hurts my elbows. And this is good for me. Wow, it feels good. Again, keeping that core engaged, so don't arch the stomach, don't let the belly flop down. Keep it tucked in. Navel in towards your spine. Nice engaged core. So your hips are really kind of reaching in towards the mat. About another 30 seconds here. And then we'll slowly come out of it. So we're gonna go nice and slow, press up, bring the knees in, nice and slow, bring the knees in. Any of these nice long stretches, you'll feel it. You don't wanna pull out too quickly. And sit back on our heels for a moment. We're going to come into our final stretches now. We'll come onto our stomach. And I like to think of this as kind of a pose that you go into when you're falling asleep. A lot of people sleep like this. So we'll come onto our stomachs. Bring our hands to either side, and we'll bring first we'll start with our right leg into that 90-degree angle, kind of like we were in our frog. But keep the left leg straight and relax there. And instead of looking towards our right side, we'll look over towards our left side. Nice goalpost arms. And we'll stay here for 2 minutes. Such a comfortable position. So nice, you can even fall asleep, it feels like. Then we'll slowly, right leg down, left leg out to the side, the one-legged frog leg, straight right leg, look off to the right side. How nice is this? Another 30 seconds. Just releasing all of our tension onto the mat, onto the ground. And then we'll slowly bring the left leg down and rise. Come into a nice releasing child's pose. You won't stay here for more than 30 seconds. Just kind of surrendering our bodies. Any last energy we have, we let it go. And then we'll end class, instead of in our Shavasana, we'll take the next 5 minutes in a meditative space, hands to either side of the body. So our yoga practice traditionally and still is used to strengthen the body in order for us to come into a meditative seat and remain here comfortably. So if you're not comfortable here with your knees lower than your hips, feel free to put yourself onto a block. A little elevation. And we'll breathe in to the nose and out through the nose. And we'll keep our focus in the center of our eyebrows, and I won't talk too much because this won't be a guided meditation. Similar to the other poses we moved through in our Yin practice, this pose is to clean and clear out our energetic subtle body channels. We sit and we observe any tension that we might find in our body in this moment, and we breathe into that tension. So this might not be in the joints of the knees, shoulders, where we felt it before, the hips, but we trace our spine. We move up and down the center column of our body with our breath, imagining a white light moving up and down, and if there's a block, a lock, low frequency movements in any one center, we stay there and we breathe in. Then we press the tension out with our exhale. We'll slowly open our eyes. Take a deep breath in. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Thank you for sharing your time and energy with me today. Namaste from Sunray.